Hello everyone, I am Jennifer Opus and I am going to discuss about the comparative analysis or study of the Tajikistan, San Marino, and Lebanon. Historical background of education of Tajikistan. By the 1920s, few Tajiks had received a formal education. According to the first Soviet census in 1926, the literacy rate was 4% for Tajik men and 0.1% for Tajik women in the territory of present-day Tajikistan and the Republic of Uzbekistan. During the late 1930s, the Soviet government began to expand the network of the state-run schools. There was strong public opposition of the change, especially from Islamic leaders. As a result, some new state schools were burned and some teachers were killed. The language of instruction in the state system were Tajik, Uzbeks, Kyrgyz, and Russian. When the Tajik became the state language in 1989, schools using Russian as the primary language of instruction began teaching Tajik as a second language from the first through the 11th grades. After independence, school curricula included more Tajik language and literature study, including classical Persian literature. However, few textbooks were available in Tajik. By the end of the 1980s, the only 10 to 25% of students attending Tajik language where schools had textbooks or other teaching materials in their own language. Over the ensuing decades, however, the Soviet education system prevailed, although a uniform set of standards was not established in every instance. For the average Tajikistani citizen in the 1980s, the duration, if not necessarily the quality, of the education process was neither the greatest nor the least among Soviet republics. As elsewhere, the Soviet Union, the system was divided into school for primary, middle or secondary, and higher education. Middle schools were differentiated as either general or specialized. For the period between 1985 and 1990, an annual average of 86,800 students attended general education, middle schools, and an average of 41,500 students attended specialized middle schools. In the academic year 1990 to 1991, Tajikistan reported 68,800 students in institutions of higher education. In secondary education, 427 out of 1,000 Tajikistanis graduated from a non-specialized middle school, and other 211 out of 1,000 went through several grades of such schools without graduating. An additional 110 out of 1,000 had attended a specialized middle school. Despite the nominal emphasis placed by the Soviet system on science and mathematics, the quality of education in those subjects was rated as poor in the last decades of the Soviet period. Geography of Tajikistan. Tajikistan is nestled between Kyrgyzstan and Uzbekistan to the north and the west, China to the east, and Afghanistan to the south. Mountains covered 93 of Tajikistan's surface area. The two principal ranges, the Pamir Mountains and the Alay Mountains, gave rise to many glacier-fed streams and rivers, which have been used to irrigate farmlands since ancient times. Central Asia's other major mountains range, the Tian Shan, skirt northern Tajikistan. Mountainous terrain separates Tajikistan's two population centers, which are in the lowlands of the southern Panji River and the northern Fergana Valley section of the country. Especially in areas of intensive agricultural and industrial activity, the Soviet Union's natural resource utilization policies left independent Tajikistan with a legacy of environmental problems. Okay, this is the geography of Tajikistan. Dimensions and borders. With an area of 142,600 km, the Tajikistan has a maximum east to west extent of 700 km and a maximum north to south extent of 350 km. The country's highly irregular border in 3,651 km long, including 414 km along the Chinese border to the east and 1,206 km along the frontier with Afghanistan to the south. Most of the southern border with Afghanistan is defined by the Amu Darya. Darya is the Persian word for river, and its tributary, the Panji River or Darya-e Panji, which has headwaters in Afghanistan and Tajikistan. The other neighbors are the former Soviet republics of Uzbekistan to the west and the north, and the Kyrgyzstan to the north. Aims and objectives in education, approved by the resolution of the Government of Republic of Tajikistan on 29 September 2020, number 526, National Strategy for Education Development of the Republic of Tajikistan for the period until 2030. Main goal and objectives of strategy. Main goal and vision of reforms in the education sector. 1. The main long and term goal of the National Strategy for the Education Development or NSED of the Republic of Tajikistan for the period until 2030 is the creation of an effective education system that provides inclusive and equal opportunities and contributes to the development of abilities, intellectual development, employment, and improvement of the general well-being of the population of the Republic of Tajikistan. Second is the long-term strategy of the education sector is based on the economic and social development priorities of the Republic of Tajikistan, reflected in the National Development Strategy of the Republic of Tajikistan for the period until 2030, and is consistent with the goals and objectives in the Sustainable Development Goals for 2015 to 2030. The objective of strategic planning, given borders perspective, is to identify priority and the key reform measures by identifying opportunities and challenges in the context of socio-economic development. Third is the goal of the reform is to create an educational system that should be a high quality and accessible to all throughout life, providing country's economy with competent workers, appropriate infrastructure, and based on modern and innovative technologies, the educational system and the international quality assessment systems to protect the interest and ensure the prestige of the country. And the educational system must ensure the preservation and development of cultural identity as well as maintaining national identity and cultural diversity. All these are extremely important and integrate the Republic of Tajikistan into the global educational space. Fourth is compliance with international standards in line with Sustainable Development Goals for 2015 to 2030 and the Sendai Disaster Risk Reduction Framework for priority action and indicators for the educational sector also implies addressing the root causes of vulnerabilities for children, including by assessing the risk associated with various sources of hazards, strengthening the capacities of children and system of their protection in at-risk situations, identifying safety priorities in schools or safe schools facilities, disasters management in schools, and risk reduction and resilience training, the ensuring meaningful participation of children in decision-making processes. Administration of Education in Tajikistan. On February 27, 2024, joint sectors reviews organized by the Ministry of the Education in the Science of the Republic of Tajikistan in close cooperation with in-country partners and education stakeholders touch upon all long-term outcome areas of the National Strategy for Education Development or NSED 2030. The event was attended by the Minister of Education and Science of the Republic of Tajikistan, Rahim Sedzoda, Senior Education Specialist of the Global Partnership on Education, and the country team lead Muhammad Tariq Khan, representatives of relevant ministries and departments and subordinate institutions of the ministry, international development partners, and representatives of local organizations. As part of this event, the public organization, or ANAHITA, presented the results of a study conducted on the GPE KICS project, or distance education, to improve quality and access to school education in Kyrgyzstan, Mongolia, and Tajikistan. The study took place in several stages and covered 100 schools to 2,000 school children and 500 teachers in different regions and cities of the country. As part of the study, 40 interviews were conducted with local government officials, schools administrators, IT and distance education specialists, 20 focus group discussion with students and parents, and 6 participant observation. Recommendation included expanding internet access for teachers and students at affordable prices, upgrading digital resources and providing technical supports in schools, addressing gender inequalities through digital technologies, creating an environment that encourages and incentivizes teachers' innovation, providing continuous professional development opportunities for teachers, and increasing public awareness about the benefits of digitalization. The presentation of the research finding was well received and generated active participation and interest from the key stakeholders. Present system of primary, secondary, and higher education. Primary, 7 to 11 years old. Middle or general basic, 11 to 16. Secondary to general secondary, 16 to 18. Vocational education. Tertiary, bachelor. Tertiary, master. Tertiary, doctorate, or PhD. Primary education. The Tajikistan education system, generally speaking, receives a failing grades among reviewers. Although there are plans in place to reverse the trends that followed the final years of Soviet occupation and the violence that overthrew it. Education currently consists of 4 years of primary schools, followed by 7 at 2-tiered secondary schools. That said, it is free through to age 17. The national literacy rate does hover of 100%. And the authorities have promised that a 12-year system will be fully implemented by 2016. Middle education. Students fortunate enough to do so spend 5 years at middle school, which is the end of the line for most of those that do. This is because Tajikistan is a poor country where teachers are paid low wages that force them to moonlight at best, and where bribes are still required to influence some admission boards. Secondary education. Upper secondary schooling is a 2-year program where students are prepared for admission to university. Standards and facilities at state schools are averaged to poor by modern Western standards. Some private schools and colleges are beginning to appear. Vocational education, the collapse of the Soviet Union and the Civil War that followed left many learning centers and their workshop is ruins. The government lacked the money to address this adequately, although in recent years the European Association for the Education of Adults has been working with the government to help address this. Tertiary education. There are impressive number of tertiary education institutions in Tajikistan. One of the larger and oldest one is Kuja State University that was established in 1932. There are 76 departments in 15 faculties, which include mathematics, physics, engineering, art and graphics, cybernetics, foreign languages, management and computer technology institute, Russian philology, Uzbek philology, education and teaching, Tajik philology, Oriental languages, natural science, history, finance and market economy and art. The university is beginning to move forward again. Early years education. Early childhood development plays a pivotal role in the cognitive, social, emotional, and physical development of young children. ECD programs around the world have demonstrated conclusively that the early years of the child's life provides the foundation of the development of lifelong skills and all subsequent learning. Only 15% of the young children in Tajikistan are enrolled in pre-primary school. According to the World Bank, there is a critical need to invest in health interventions and early learning opportunities in Tajikistan, and several AKDN agencies are involved. Okay, the next is developed country, which is San Marino. Education in San Marino is compulsory from 6 to 16 years of age and is divided into 6 stages: nursery school, kindergarten, primary school, lower secondary school, upper secondary school, and university. Education is free in San Marino and free education is available to Sammarinese citizens, to children of all nationalities who are permanently resident in San Marino or have a resident permit. The education system in San Marino is based on the Italian system, and since 1983, the diplomas are recognized by Italy. The literacy rate is 99.9%. Geography of the country of San Marino. San Marino, small, landlocked republic situated on the slopes of Mount Tetano, on the Adriatic side of central Italy between the Emilia-Romagna and Marche regions, and surrounded on all sides by the Republic of Italy. It is the smallest independent state in Europe after Vatican City and Monaco, and until the independence of Nauru, 1968, the smallest republic in the world. San Marino has an irregular rectangular form with a maximum length of 8 miles, northeast to southeast. It is crossed by the Marano and Ausa streams, which flow into the Adriatic Sea, and by the streams of San Marino, which falls into Marichia River. The landscape is dominated by the huge central limestone mass of Mount Tetano. Hills spread out from it on the southeast, whereas the northeastern part gently slopes down toward the Romagna Plain and the Adriatic coast. The silhouette of Mount Tetano, which with its 3 summit crowned by ancient triple fortifications, may be seen from many miles away. In 2008, Mount Tetano and Historic Cemetery of San Marino were designated a UNESCO World Heritage Site. The climate is mild and temperate, with maximum temperatures in high 70s Fahrenheit, about 26 degrees Celsius in summer and the high teens in winter. Annual rainfall ranges between about 22 inches or 560 mm and 32 inches or 800 mm. Vegetation is typical of Mediterranean zone with variation due to the elevation and includes olive, pine, oak, ash, poplar, fir, and elm, as well as many kinds of grasses and flowers. Beside domestic and farmyard animal, moles, hedgehogs, foxes, badgers, martens, wassels, and hares are found. Indigenous birds and birds of passage are plentiful. Aims and objectives and education of San Marino. Marino School aims to promote each child's optimal development through a child-centered, individualized curricular approach. To support this aim, our school provides a caring and nurturing environment within which all pupils are supported in developing their full potential, self-esteem, and self-worth. Marino School had strong links with the community and works collaboratively with local schools through a wide variety of local initiatives. Marino schools aim to foster through carefully planned individual education programs independence, dignity, self-discipline, social independence, and competent handling of basic daily needs. This prepare each student as far as possible for the responsibilities and experiences of adult life. We endeavor to establish effective communication with the families of all students as the success and achievement of goals depends on cooperation and support of every parent or guardian. The majority of students who graduated from secondary school pursue enrollment at universities in Italy, all of which recognize San Marino diplomas as respectable education accomplishment. The University of Republic of San Marino is the country's only higher learning institution, but it also has a number of vocational training institutes. Established in 1980, these vocational training institutes take a non-traditional approach to education. Specializing is a prioritized curriculum that focuses on communications, historical studies, biomedical studies, and civil engineering. Present system of primary, secondary, and higher education. Okay, as we can see, education system in San Marino. Primary to primary, 6, middle, lower secondary, 3, secondary to upper secondary, 3, tertiary, undergraduate, 3, tertiary, graduate, 1 to 2, tertiary to doctorate, 3. Primary education. San Marino, which has the distinction of being the smallest republic in the world, is landlocked in the Italian Pennine Mountains not far from the Adriatic Sea. Here, the literacy rate is 98% in school education based on the Italian model, free and compulsory from the ages of 6 to 14. Children attend elementary school from 5 years. There is a national examination at the end of each of these to determine whether they are ready to proceed on the next grade. Middle education. The next 3 years are spent at middle school. This is a significant break point in a young person's career. After this, they may legally go out to work with their basic education behind them, or they could study further to improve their long-term prospects. Next is secondary education. Higher secondary education takes a further 5 years to complete. The qualification obtained is equivalent to an Italian secondary school's completion certificate. Vocational education. Young people disinterested in an academic senior school's education have opportunities to attend vocational schools and adult education program instead. Tertiary education. The University of San Marino was established in October 1995 to attend the tiny nation's tertiary education needs. It has faculties of biomedical studies, communication, economics and technology, historical studies, and law that offer programs through master degrees. It has a well-stocked library of over 30,000 books and 500 journals. Early years education, compulsory education in San Marino begins at the age of 6 and continues until the age of 14. It consists of 5 years of primary education and 3 years of lower secondary education, which can be taken through a state or non-state schools or through schooling. European Education 1999. San Marinese preschools accept all children between the ages of 3 and 6. Attendance is free. Primary school attendance is compulsory for children ages 6 to 11. Students are given yearly state-required final exam to determine whether or not they may continue onto the next level. European Education 1999. Lower secondary education is compulsory for children between the ages of 11 and 14. After completing lower secondary education, student may leave school or continue for other 3 years in upper secondary education, after which can go on to higher education. Higher education is offered at San Marino's one major university or El Universidad de San Marino. It offers 4 different types of degrees. European Education 1999. San Marino's also offers several types of non-formal education such as classical, scientific, artistic, or technical, and vocational schools and adult education programs. Okay, the third one is the developing country, Lebanon. Historical background of education in Lebanon. Ancient roots of Lebanese education. Lebanon, a country nestled in the heart of the Middle East, has a history steeped in knowledge and wisdom. The origins of education in this region can be traced back to the ancient times when the Phoenicians, renowned seafarers and traders, developed an advanced system of learnings. These early scholars laid the groundwork for a society that valued education and the dissemination of knowledge. During the Roman era, Lebanon continued to play a pivotal role in education. The renowned Roman law school in the city of Berytus, or modern-day Beirut, attracted students from far and wide. Its scholar contributed to the development of legal principle and continued to influence modern legal system. Geography of the country of Lebanon. Lebanon is a small country in the eastern Mediterranean, located at approximately 34 to 35 It stretches along the eastern shore of the Mediterranean Sea, and its length is almost 3 times its width. From north to south, the width of its terrain becomes narrower. Lebanon's mountainous terrain, proximity to the sea, and the strategic location at a crossroad of the world were decisive factors in shaping its history. The country's role in the region, as needed in the world at large, was shaped by trade. It serves as a link between the Mediterranean world and India and East Asia. The merchants of the region exported oil, grain, textiles, metalworks, and pottery through the port cities to western markets. Okay, this is the geography of the Lebanon. Aims and objectives in education in Lebanon. Lebanon is committed to providing equal access to quality education for all students, regardless of their socioeconomic background or geographic location. Efforts are made to address barriers to education, such as poverty, displacement, and gender inequality. Administration and Education of Lebanon. The Ministry of Education and Higher Education regulates all education institutes in the public sector through a regional educational system. The education system in Lebanon is centralized, and this regulation is not direct. The education system is managed through regional education bureaus. Educational system in Lebanon. The Lebanese educational system consists of 5 cycles, which are divided among 3 main subdivisions: the preschool, basic, and secondary stages. The stages of preschool education, or cycle 1, begins at the age of 3 or 4. Basic education, which is considered compulsory, continues from the age of 6 to the age of 14. It includes 2 levels: the elementary and the intermediate level. The elementary phase includes grade 1 to 3 and grade 4 to 6, or cycle 3. The intermediate level comprises grade 7 to 9, or cycle 4. Finally, the stages of secondary education continues from grade 10 to 12, or cycle 5. It is usually completed at the age of 18 and ends with a baccalaureate or professional certificate, of which either can give access to tertiary education. Preschool education aims to initiate children into the school environment. The goal of preschool education is to create a favorable climate for children to communicate with others, develop their physical capacities, limb control and coordination of their movements, and educate their senses. Preschool education also takes into account the physiological, moral, and intellectual development of children. According to the World Bank database, the gross enrollment rate of preschool education is 62.5% for male, 68.3% for female, and 64% for total in 2006. Also, private enrollment share for preschool education marked 80.3% in 2008. Elementary level. According to the world's database, gross enrollment rate of elementary level of basic education is for 96.8% for male, 93.9% for female, and 94% for total in 2007. Private enrollment share in elementary level is 67.6% in 2007. Intermediate level, primary completion rate of Lebanon is lower than that of Tunisia, Jordan, Iran, or Algeria, West Bank, and Egypt, all of which have lower GNI per capita. Primary completion rates have not improved during the period of 1995 to 1996 to 2003 to 2004. In 2007, primary completion rate is 79.8% for male, 83.3% for female, and 81.5% for total. According to UIS database, technical and vocational enrollment as percent of total enrollment in intermediate level is 5.1% in 2008. Private enrollment share of general education in intermediate level is 60.2%, and that of technical and vocational education is 56.8% in 2008. Secondary education is 3 years education. The first year is common for all students, and the second year is either scientific or literature, whereas the third year composes of humanities, economics, life science, general sciences, and technical education, about 55 different fields of study. Most schools, however, have deviated from this system. They usually do not offer humanities education. Citing socioeconomics as a better and more efficient alternative, school principals decide students' path based on students' aptitude as shown by the first secondary and secondary years. When students complete 3 years education, they take official Lebanese baccalaureate exam in their respective tracks, or 4 in all. Students who finish examination successfully obtain the Lebanese Baccalaureate Certificate of Secondary Education or the Technical Baccalaureate in 2014. The Minister of Education passed all students who took the exam regardless of their score. Tertiary education. Tertiary education in Lebanon is composed of technical and vocational institutes, university colleges, university institutes, and universities. The Lebanese University is the only public institution. The Ministry of Education and Higher Education administrates the private and public sectors, and technical and vocational institutes are under the Directorate General of Technical and Vocational Education. Directorate General of Higher Education has responsibility for university colleges, university institutes, and universities. According to the World Bank database, gross enrollment rate of tertiary education, the percentage of students who go on tertiary education within 5 years of completing secondary education was 48 in 2013, with university graduates making up 30% of people seeking a job. It is clear that the higher education system needs to play a key role in resolving the problem of youth unemployment in Lebanon. The key issue related to the sector is the mismatch between the highly skilled graduates that universities supply and skills and the professional the labor market demands. This supply-demand failing in the labor market and increasingly preventing young people from finding a job in their country that fits their qualifications. Early education in Lebanon. The Early Education in Lebanon projects aim to explore strategies for achieving equitable access to early education, childhood education, or ECE, for all Lebanese children and Syrian child refugees. It is set out to assess how far the current ECE system in Lebanon for 3 to 5 years old children offers quality, accessible, and affordable provision for Lebanese and refugee children across 3 regions: Bekaa, Akkar, and Tripoli in the north of Lebanon, and Saida and Tyre in the south. All refugee hosting areas being close to border. Bekaa hosts the largest population of Syrian refugees. The researcher team also aimed to map the extent to which ECE provision in these regions offers equal learning opportunities to Lebanese and refugee children of different ages, gender, and abilities. Okay, and that's the end of my report. Thank you and God bless everyone.